What's up, everybody? It's Industry Professionals. You know what it is, but this week we're talking about something that we usually don't talk about, and that's foreign movies, because we only like American movies.
That's
around
true.
Here. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
if they speak English, I'm into it. If not, then I'm not gonna watch it. So on this one, we chose some Chinese blockbusters. We got 2015's Dragon Blade, we got 2017's Wolf Warrior 2, and we got 2016's The Mermaid.
So I thought that these were pretty fascinating because it's rare that you get to see that amount of money spent on something that pretty much is making no attempt to cater to you, right?
Yeah.
It's not really trying to be a crossover hit. It's these things do really well in the Chinese market. So it completely reflects a different set of sort of Hollywood. I say Hollywood for lack of a better word, but their national film industry norms, and also just different social values and different things that are placed value on. In the movies, and it's a lot of money.
A lot of money. These things look expensive, but also at the same time,
But also bad.
pretty bad. Yeah, the CG is all pretty bad.
It's just different stuff is considered good and different stuff is considered bad.
I guess money's put elsewhere. Yeah, makes sense. Also, the audio in these movies is also not the best.
Yeah, well, we weren't getting them.
No, like lines were clearly dubbed and ADR and it sounded it sounded like a person in a room rather than somebody outside.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah.
Just a lot of really small weird things and then a lot of really big weird things.
Yes.
And I think the
big weird things coming at the end.
Yeah. But another through line is that all of these films are produced by the National Film Board of the Communist Party of China.
Yeah.
So the government has a significant consulting role in the content of all their blockbusters.
Yep.
And as such, they represent the ideals of the party.
Yes. I think that's pretty accurate.
Yeah. Sometimes, yeah, and I mean, it's, all of these contain propaganda. Or
of some sorts, yeah.
Or are overt pieces of propaganda.
Yeah. Specifically the second movie we got here.
And even the first. I think that the third has some, but it's
toned down a bit.
And it's harder to criticize because it's more of just an environmental message, which is kind of hard to disagree with.
That's true, yeah. Yeah, the last movie is more or less hey, climate change is bad.
Yeah, but there's also the bad guys are the...
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
We'll get there. You want to talk about what we watched first?
Yeah, so this one sort of is in the spirit of cultural learning.
We thought this would be a good transition into the Chinese film market because it stars two American actors and one very familiar actor.
And it's a classic. It's right on point because not only does this have stars from Hollywood, but it's about learning from other cultures and exchanging ideas with between East and West and how the Eastern ideas are superior. But we should exchange.
Yeah, but still talk.
We should exchange, but my thing is better, but they're different.
Yeah.
But better.
So the main character of this movie is Jackie Chan. And then...
named...
What?
What's the character's name?
Huo N.
Nice.
Yeah, anyway. And then we got Adrian Brody as our antagonist.
As our evil man.
Tiberius. As he is...
Tiberius?
Oh, God.
Because it's Rome meets ancient China.
You're right. I just read the name and said it phonetically. And
long ago, the Romans met the Chinese, and they worked together to build a city of co-understanding and cultural exchange.
Yeah. And then that's where John Cusack steps in.
John Cusack
is also the other main character, Lucius.
Dare I say career revitalizing role?
Yeah, dare you say that?
A Cusackazance of sorts.
Dude, I'm down to have John Cusack on every poster. I'm ready to have him back. Come back, John.
John. Come on the show.
Did I tell you about my friend who went to Pitchfork Fest a few years ago? And Brian Wilson was playing Pet Sounds on stage. And it was right after Love and Mercy had just come out, which was a biopic about him.
Yeah.
And John Cusack played him. So John Cusack, for some reason, was on the stage the entire time.
Was he playing anything? Or like, was he?
No,
he was a musician.
He was vaping.
Yep.
The whole show, he was just vaping.
Playing the instrument of kings.
Yes. So.
Why have him?
I don't know. It's because he was in Love and Mercy. Maybe it's cross promotion for the movie.
That'd be like if Queen did a concert and Rami Malek was just like on stage
vaping.
Yeah.
There's no other equivalent. Yeah. I don't know. Seems like a weird guy.
It is weird to think that any of these people had these movies pitched to them and were like, yes,
immediately, yes.
Or,
like,
I mean, even if not immediately, but it's weird because
they did this for the money.
It is not a transplantable acting experience going from American movies to Chinese movies and vice versa. Like, to some extent, like Jackie Chan is probably the only person to do it
out of the yeah. I hear you. I guess I don't watch enough Chinese film to know if there's been somebody.
But what stars people who are leading actors in America other than stuff with Jackie Chan?
You'd have
animated movies.
Okay, I don't know. You're gonna have to you put me on the spot here, and I don't think I have an answer just yet.
All right, that's
happy
one
with
point.
that?
1 point.
What about Donnie Yen? Does that count? Not as big, but
not as big, but yeah, I guess. But he's not really a leading man in American movies.
Oh, that's true. I just thought he was in Rogue One.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's true. Okay. I don't think we said the title of this movie.
We're talking Dragon Blade.
Dragon Blade.
Now,
it's
one of the reasons we forgot is because it is not a plot point.
No. What does Dragon Blade even mean?
There's not even an important blade that is unnamed.
Yes. No.
There are no dragons. There's no dragon iconography.
Do you think that the Chinese version didn't translate well, so they just called it Dragon Blade?
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
That'd be my guess.
Anyway, you want to talk about John Cusack and what he does in this movie?
Can we just run down? Let's just run down the plot.
That's what I was getting at.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Does it start with? No, it starts with some scientists in the Arctic.
Oh my God! I forgot about this numerous times while we were watching the movie.
I had to keep reminding Dan how the movie started, and each time I did, it was increasingly alarming because it starts with two scientists in the Arctic finding like an ancient ruined city and being like, they reconstruct it with satellite imagery, and they're like, here it is, and then it flashes back to the entire story. It takes place thousands and thousands of years before, but like 45 minutes into the movie, we've already forgotten that it starts in the present day.
Yep. Oh yeah, in the intro, the opening credits, it's like olden time thousands of years ago, and then a satellite in outer space, and then olden time thousands of years ago, and then satellite. It kept cutting back and forth
and
to the satellite.
Everything is so like over CG'd and
glossy.
Overly. Yeah, I was gonna say glossy. Like it looks. It looks more like a tech demo for like software or something. It's too glossy. It looks.
Yeah.
Or like a commercial, or like a
yeah. Oh, I would say Wolf Warrior 2 as well. That one literally looks like a car commercial throughout the entire way through.
It's just a strange that where everything was like slow-mo, lots of lens flares, like every like more effects and sort of cinematic decisions per shot than would be typically considered tasteful for a American movie. Not that American blockbusters are super tasteful, but
yeah, we'll compare Wolf Warrior 2 to Michael Bay soon enough. But
so it starts with like Jackie Chan, who is a warrior for peace, by the way.
Yeah, he fights a lot, but it's just for peace.
It's only ever
and
for
he'll
peace.
never start the fight.
He never starts the fight. Instead, he will go up to people and they'll be like, "Hey, nerd,"
and then he'll kick their ass.
They'll be like, "Hey, nerd, I'm leaving you no choice," and he's like, "You leave me no choice."
Exactly. That's what happens every time. That's how he gets his fighting in.
So he works for the Silk Road Protection Squad, a weirdly modern name for old times, and they basically break up fights on the Silk Road between different groups of people.
Yeah.
And boy, let me tell you, there are a lot of different groups of people in this movie.
Oh my god. It's like the Battle of the 10 Armies or whatever. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
This movie gets so confusing.
And it's weird because it's shot at the beginning sort of like a Game of Thrones or like a Lord of the Rings style, like epic fantasy where it's like two armies facing off. But then they each just send a representative and they kung fu each other in the middle. And then there's like slapstick comedy in the kung fu. And like it's violent but not bloody. It's like very... Like I don't know what it would be rated in America.
It's radar.
What?
Yeah. You want to know
For what?
I don't know.
I mean, a kid gets blinded. Oh yeah, and he gets like chained up and his eyes
and that's pretty
get like taken
gruesome.
out.
Yeah.
But you don't see it, and then he gets
I
shot
mean,
in the throat.
you see him eyeless. Oh my god, I forgot about that.
This movie's insane.
This movie's wild. Okay, it's radar for bloody violence.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Sure.
So they break up fights on the Silk Road
Yeah.
between like the Huns and the White Indians.
Oh, forgot. White
That is
Indians
not
was
a term I
huge thing.
use. That is a term
in the
that
movie.
the film used.
Well, no, that the subtitles
True.
for the version we watched used.
Yes.
We don't. They were called White Indians. That's what we're going to refer to them
Yes.
as.
So Jackie Chan breaks up the fight, and then John Cusack rolls up. The Romans arrive.
Hold on. What do you think the White Indians refers to?
I imagine the ethnic people that would have inhabited like southern China, northern, like.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, is it because they can't say like Tibetans,
Maybe. I don't know.
or like they don't want to recognize the ethnic identity of those people?
Maybe.
But
not
yeah, I
sure.
mean there are parts. Western China's like desert, so
Yeah.
it could have just been steppe people of some kind.
Yeah. True. Sorry, you were about to say about John Cusack
John Cusack rolls up.
in the desert. He just
Yeah,
shows up.
yeah. The Romans arrive.
Yep.
Um,
With a kid.
the Romans. Who my favorite thing about and we'll talk about the kid.
We'll
in a
talk
second.
about his kid.
My favorite thing about the
extensively.
Romans in this movie are in the same way that like if we made a movie, if there was an American movie made without many consultants from China about ancient China, we would mess up a lot of stuff. Like we would give people clothing that probably isn't period appropriate, just out of
Yeah.
ignorance and out of not
Yeah, we do it
knowing-
all the time.
not knowing the subtleties of different cultures. So they did that with the Romans because the Romans just had like combinations of facial hair and hairstyles
Yeah.
that
Oh my
are
God, Adrian
incredibly
Brody's hair.
incongruent. Like a dude with like a tonsure, like the monk ring of hair,
Yeah.
and like a goatee or like a mustache or like a chin strap. Just like stuff that no one would ever have that looked ridiculous.
Doesn't John Cusack have a chin strap in this movie? Or am I wrong?
No, he's got a 5 o'clock shadow.
Oh,
He
yeah,
looks like
you're
Bruce
right,
Springsteen
you're
the
right.
whole time.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. He looked exactly like
He looks
Bruce.
exactly
That was
like
weird.
Bruce Springsteen because he has like a headband, and John Cusack already kind of looks like Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah, that's accurate. But
So they have like a kid
John Cusack specifically has a kid.
who they're carrying in like one of those like.
Horse sacks?
Was he in a carriage or for some reason I'm imagining him on one of those things that they had poles for, like to carry.
Oh, you mean
But he was
like
just in a
cage
carriage,
that's
right?
held by 4 people?
Yeah, he was just in like a.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Maybe he was though.
So he's like a fancy boy. He's like a fancy noble son.
Yeah.
We
Here's the thing. It took us a while to figure out that it was John Cusack's
It
kid.
took us a while to not only come around to the realization of this, but then also to openly address it.
Yeah.
Where this kid was a Chinese child actor, I believe,
Yeah, of Asian descent.
who was in like whiteface.
He was in like whiteface, but then with like
He was in
a
sort of
fake
like gold
tan.
face.
Yeah, it was like a fake tan, and then he had like fake orangey
fake
blonde, hair. Yeah,
wispy, like nobody of that
it was really weird
descent
to look at.
background would have hair that looked like that. It was just
Because like he
it
had,
was
like,
just like a racially incongruous kid.
yeah, we didn't because like we were confused as to A, who he was, B, if like what relation he had to anybody, and it's only later throughout the movie we figured out, like, oh, it's John Cusack's kid. But then that sort of confused us more, and we were like, that kid's supposed to be...
And he has, like, blind guy
American
eyes,
or Roman.
too.
He's what?
He has, like, blind guy eyes.
What
His
do you
eyes are all, like, milky white.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, it looks like he's just got contacts in. Yeah.
So they arrive, and basically... there's a long time when they are like kind of fighting the Silk Road Protection Squad, but they're trying not to fight.
Yeah.
There's like a 45-minute sequence of them non-verbally communicating to each other that they don't need to fight.
Mm-hmm.
Which I did feel like no American blockbuster would.
Yeah, that's true. That scene was
put
weird
so much
for us.
effort into. Both sides don't want to. Are trying to avoid conflict with each other.
That's what like the whole plot
That's
is.
the whole plot of the
It's
movie.
like, oh, they don't want to fight, even though there's like fight scenes throughout, kind of like sprinkled in.
Yeah.
Mainly in the beginning and the end, actually. The middle doesn't have much, does it?
The middle is all like building a town.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm right. Okay, cool.
And then the end is the Battle of the 30 Armies.
Yeah. Forgive me if I'm like just not remembering things about
It's a
this
weird movie.
It's really hard to pay attention to.
So then sort of the main thing of the movie begins, which is just the sort of cultural exchange between the groups, but done from a Chinese nationalist angle.
Mm-hmm.
So like we exchange and learn from each other, but it's always like they're wounded and they need medical help, but they don't have time to get to a surgeon, so they do Eastern medicine instead, and wouldn't you know it, that's better.
Yeah.
And like a lot of things like that where like they realize that Jackie Chan and John Cusack realize that, you know, we're more alike than we are different. And he's like, let me see your sword. I've never seen a real Chinese sword before. Then he takes it and he's like, wow, this is like way better than our swords. This is cool. You've taught us so much.
Yeah.
And it's just weird because it's at once having this sort of like good message, right? About the, you know, cultural exchange and the importance of learning things from other groups of people, but also really shows its hand of being kind of a bad faith argument that's ends up being sort of a blunt cudgel of cultural superiority.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was a little jarring. When like, not jarring. I guess I should say a little surprised, but I guess I'm not that surprised now that I think about it, because American movies probably do the same sort of stuff.
Yeah, just for like the values. Well, I mean, the values in American movies are always like individuality. Be yourself.
True.
Regardless of, you know.
Sometimes it's teamwork.
Yeah, rise out of above the situation that you're in right now.
True, yeah.
Escape what you're in right now.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, a lot of movies are like that.
Like all of them.
Yeah.
But I think Chinese movies are also... I think American movies are mostly propaganda for the American people. And the Chinese movies we watched, I think, are propaganda for probably like 20% for people in China, but largely for people not in China.
What do you mean?
Because this has an angle of like cultural exchange, right? Of like learning from each other and diplomacy. I think that angle is meant to be to other countries. They're trying to craft an image for other countries. And Wolf Warrior 2...
Do you really think that China was trying to cater these movies to not Chinese people?
Wolf Warrior 2, absolutely.
I think Wolf Warrior 2, if anything, was catering to Chinese people.
I think it was catering to China and Africa.
In the same way, in the same way that Michael Bay caters to Americans.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. I agree that is the case with Wolf Warrior 2, that it is a
almost straight up propaganda.
Propaganda for the older nationalist reactionary. Yep. Yeah. But I think that it has an angle of, hey, don't be afraid of coming into the Chinese sphere of influence.
Yeah.
And I think both of these movies have that.
Yeah. I see that.
And I think that this one is meant to be sort of an olive branch to the West, right? With its inclusion of Western actors.
Yeah,
and it's something.
Cusack
and I wouldn't be surprised if that's how The Great Wall is, too, where it's like...
Well, The Great Wall was produced by both Chinese and American market.
A lot of
That was supposed to be like the big crossover.
And I bet that this movie might even be specifically to cater to more movies being produced by American and Chinese studios.
Yeah,
together.
maybe.
Because the message is, we have a lot to teach each other, but also we're better.
Yeah. This came out actually like almost exactly a year before Great Wall.
Because as it turns out, that's actually really
like
interesting.
almost to the day.
It's weird because Great Wall I feel like looks a lot better. But
Yeah, it does.
well, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, because it's all because it's produced by American.
Well, and
markets
I mean
too.
a lot more money, and we've
That's
been
true.
making movies as a product
Yeah,
for a really long time.
true. Yeah.
So John Cusack, it turns out, despite the message being that of cultural exchange, is one of the good ones.
Yep. He's the
we
good
learned
guy.
that his group of people is actually outcasts who are exiled for doing the right thing within the Rome, Europe empire.
Under Adrian Brody's rule.
Under Adrian Brody, who we see blinded this kid, and
Yeah.
then we see nothing of for an hour and 45 minutes.
Oh yeah, there was like an intro scene where they mentioned his name and he's just sitting on a throne, angry looking, and then like 10 minutes later they show him blind a kid, and then he's not in the movie for another hour.
Yes.
It was weird.
Adrian Brody, who...
Falling on hard times.
Yes.
What was he? He was in like one.
He was
big
in that
movie.
that video on SNL.
Oh
where
no! Oh
he
no!
had the dreads, and he
Oh,
was doing a
God.
Jamaican accent.
Yeah.
And he is no longer welcome on Saturday Night Live after that. He's actually blacklisted.
God. Like he was in The Pianist, and that was like a big movie for him.
It was in The Brothers Bloom.
Brothers Bloom, Darjeeling, but Darjeeling's like an indie movie.
Yeah.
And then like what else? I know he was in a spoof movie, like a raunchy, gross out spoof movie made by the ShamWow guy. With Rob Schneider's in it.
Whoa.
It's about like technology and how funny those situations can get.
Jeez.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen it. But
Wait,
it
what
looks
is...
horrendous.
No, like
I
this
think-
sounds
alright.
awesome, right?
Okay, I think it's called inappropriate.
Oh my
something.
God.
Hold on, let me look it up.
I love when like old washed up people are like, I'm gonna make a passion project or like a side thing about skewering the new thing that I also clearly am making it clear that I don't understand.
Yeah. Okay, ready? It's called Inappropriate
It's so
Comedy.
bad.
It came out in 2013. It's got a 1 on Metacritic. It's got Adrian Brody, the ShamWow guy, Lindsay Lohan, Michelle Rodriguez, and Rob Schneider.
Was Adrian Brody in like a military movie, like a World War II, where he played like...
Forgive me if I'm wrong, but isn't Pianist World War II?
No, but I see him in my mind in like military fatigues.
He was in King Kong. I forgot about that. That's a big role for him.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's a huge role. He was in Predators. He was an army dude in that.
I guess.
Oh, wait. I almost forgot about The Village. Throwback to episode
I actually
1.
did forget about The Village.
Yeah, forgot about that movie's existence. And then he was in Midnight in Paris,
Yeah.
Bullethead, Thin Red Line.
Thin Red Line, probably.
Those are army movies.
That sounds like World War II.
Oh man, a lot of these look like army movies. Actually, oh my god,
weird.
He's in Angels in the Outfield. We should probably get back
Okay,
to what we were
so
talking about. Sorry, everybody.
Yeah, so the cultural exchange continues. They're building the town, and the army of Adrian Brody will roll up at some time.
Towards the end.
Now, I noticed that there are two types of white people depicted in this movie, and I would like to get into this.
Yeah, go on.
There is the classic, let's call him a Prince Charming white person.
Who
Very
might
much
that be?
a Disney protagonist type. John Cusack is kind of this, but you know, he's closer to that than anything. But like
I would say he's like the noble man.
a fair-haired, square-jawed,
Bruce Springsteen looking.
in this case, leading man. And then there's the other type of white people, which is sort of a villainous type of white person who I would describe as having quasi-Eastern European, quasi-Semitic characteristics.
Yeah, there's the one. There's the.
Yes.
You tell us.
So
about
I
him.
was like, hey, have you noticed how there are two types of white people in like movies like there's your Arnold Schwarzenegger white guy and your Josh Gad white guy.
What?
You know what I mean? Where it's like one of them is heroic and strong and the other is either cowardly, funny, or evil.
I've never seen Josh Gad be evil. That's my problem.
Oh, okay. But like
Slug Guy from Jurassic World 2.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool.
The one who's not our hero.
Yes. The one who is visibly not our hero.
And who is visibly and is also visibly like Eastern European or Jewish.
Yeah.
And like as soon as there was this one dude, I was like, him. Mark my words, we're not gonna like him. He's gonna do something bad. And then
you were like the Jewish looking guy.
Yes.
Specifically.
Instantly upon seeing him. And then later he literally sells out our protagonists to the Romans.
Yep.
He betrays them and turns them into the Romans.
And you were right.
It's the one thing. That's like the thing.
Yeah.
Like when people talk about anti-Semitism, it comes from that specific event.
It comes from Dragon Blade 2015.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, absolutely. And Adrian Brody, I mean, come on, folks.
What are you trying to say about Adrian Brody?
I'm saying we thought he had a prosthetic nose.
Oh my god. Okay, yeah, there was a part where the movie looked so glossy and like kind of weirdly fake looking that we saw Adrian Brody's face and we were like, we know Adrian Brody has a rather large nose,
Yes.
but is that a prosthetic?
Maybe it's because we hadn't seen him in some time, but we
That's
were
true.
both pretty weirded out by it.
Yeah,
and
weirded
then
out by his
he
nose.
becomes he's just evil.
He's
like,
evil
He's
for the
like,
sake
ha
of
ha
evil.
ha, I love evil.
Yeah. There's nothing else about him other than he's the bad guy.
One point, he stabs a white Indian for refusing to agree with him, and then like licks the blood off his sword.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just
Hey.
like ridiculous.
Wonder what he got
There's
from
a
that.
scene building the city that's important because they use their shields, the Roman shields.
Okay,
and
I was gonna
stack
ask if that
rocks
was
on
this
them.
movie. Wait, is this the movie where they like
Yes.
shield
Well, there's
up?
payoff for it later.
Okay.
Because they
Yeah, go on.
stack stones. They're like teaching each other how to build things, and they like stack stones on these sleds made of shields, and it's sort of showing off like strength in unity and collectivism as everybody like heaves and hammers in
Yep.
unison, and it's very like communist-y.
Yeah.
And then later so there's like 10 battles now happen.
Yeah.
When Adrian Brody
Whole
rolls
bunch.
up,
Rapid fire.
many battles happen, and in one of them, they all the Chinese and Roman guys put their shields together and then go on a sled made of shields with like the
Yeah.
spears sticking out the front, like it's like they make a battle sled that slides
it's-
down the hill.
It's just like a big unit of shields and arrows that they
Yes.
just push.
Yeah.
And it's pretty funny looking.
And then
It was great payoff though.
it ends with all the groups having like an Anchorman scene.
I forgot about the Anchorman scene.
Where
They
it's-
all just show up.
Yeah, every group of people that was fighting on the Silk Road. So like you have the Huns and they're here in the battle, but then the camera swings over and it's like, no, but also the white Indians are here.
Yeah.
Then it swings over and it's also like 3 other groups of people that we haven't seen.
Oh, yeah.
And the Romans and the bad Romans.
Yep.
And the Chinese and the bad Chinese.
It's like literally like Anchorman.
And it's like very difficult to follow.
Yeah.
After that, it just becomes
You don't
Jackie Chan and his group of guys fighting army after army after army after army.
What was the scene where Jackie Chan is like fighting something and he kicks the fire or the...
That was much earlier, but yeah.
Oh, whoops. Just goes to show how much I remember.
Another weird thing about this movie is that there are a lot. Another one of the group was the Uyghurs, or Uyghurs. I never know. I think it's the ethnic group in China that is Muslim.
Okay.
And they were all referred to as just that. Like, you know, in the subtitles would just be like, the Uyghur says this. And it's kind of weird because, like, the Chinese government really doesn't like them and, like, is trying to actively cover up the sort of oppression of that ethnic group. So it's weird. I wonder if this was like a tokenism thing or if it was being handled in an insensitive way.
What do you mean tokenism?
Like, see, we have them in our movie. We can't hate them.
Oh, like Token.
Yeah.
I thought you meant the author.
Tolkienism?
Yeah, that's sorry.
No, there aren't any people of color in his books.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, maybe it is that.
Yeah, it's weird.
Because I doubt they just throw him in to have him in.
Yeah.
You know, that might be you're onto something. Wolf Warrior 2 has a lot of token things.
And they fight, and then eventually Adrian Brody and Jackie Chan are fighting.
Yeah.
John Cusack at one point gets
murked,
crucified.
Oh my God, John!
Like
Cusack's
they wrap him up in a
Jesus
bunch of
this
chains after the Jewish looking man turns him into the Romans.
The Jesus thing.
Yes,
where he's got his arms extended, you know, and he's like dying, like Jesus.
And he's like,
cross.
please, Jackie Chan, like we're brothers, please kill me. And then Jackie Chan tearfully shoots him with a crossbow in the neck.
Oh yeah, he also like had his eyes gouged
as
out,
like
right?
the kid is like singing a beautiful like European song.
Dude, here's the thing: you keep bringing up points of this movie that I would have never remembered without you bringing them up, and I just keep like, oh man, this is so funny.
There were a lot of singing scenes that were like cultural exchange through singing, where they would sing like a Chinese folk song and then like what they think a pan-European song would sound like.
Yeah.
So then, Jackie Chan is fighting, or was it? Yeah, Jackie Chan was fighting because he got made a knight. Remember, that was the plot twist. Is that at one point John Cusack knights him, gives him an honorary knighthood. And then Adrian Brody's like, mwahaha, I've won. Only a knight can fight me.
Right.
Jackie Chan's like, I am a knight.
Right.
Remember from before? And then he loses in the fight. And Adrian Brody's about to chop his head off. And then he kicks him in the arm so hard his arm breaks.
Oh my God.
In what was absolutely the best scene in the movie.
I totally forgot about that too.
That was amazing.
Yeah, that was great. His arm just like.
And then they fight each other until they both die, I think.
Does Jackie Chan die?
Yeah, they both die. It's like bittersweet, remember?
Oh, okay, sure. All the main
characters
die.
And as we had to keep reminding ourselves, at some point, we're going to get back to those scientists with the satellite imagery.
Oh my God, yeah, let's talk about the ending.
Yeah, because that was very much like how the hell are we going to end? Because it's ending with that storyline.
Yeah.
But how do we get there? And as the movie dragged on, we kept forgetting that happened in the beginning.
Oh, yeah. And then when it happened in the end, they had learned all the history somehow.
Of like, this is like, we can come together to make something beautiful
of what we
cultures.
just watched.
Yes.
Yeah. And then there's people on their walkie-talkies. They're like,
hey, did you find the lost city of blah, blah, blah?
And they're just like, no, we haven't found anything. And it ends. It's their secret.
She's the same way the mermaid ended, kind of. With it being like, I learned my lesson, but no, the thing isn't real.
What?
Because the mermaid ends with him being like, there's no such thing as mermaids, you guys.
Oh, right. Yeah, but that was clearly him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's sort of the same deal. And they're like, no, we didn't find it. And then they're like, okay, we can keep what we've learned to ourselves. And then it ends.
Here's the thing. I get that in the mermaid because, like, he's trying to protect them.
Yes.
In this one, I don't know what they're trying to protect.
The ancient ruined city, which, by the way, why would they let the city fall into, like, disrepair and become lost to time? Like, it was literally just Jackie Chan and Adrian Brody killed each other. Like,
hey, dude, that's all it takes.
So everybody's like, okay, guess let's leave this city forever.
Right, think about it this way. If Jackie Chan and Adrian Brody like fought in LA or something, would anybody live in LA after that?
You're
if they died?
Right.
Like, come on.
We would be like, no one can set foot in here again.
It would just be too sad to go back.
Yes.
Oh. Sorry, that was stupid.
It'd be like, this is the city where Jackie Chan died.
As well as Adrian Brody.
I mean, whatever.
Oh, that was a good bit. Whoa. This movie's directed by a guy named Daniel.
Hell yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Wait, hold on. Okay, cool. Never mind.
It was pretty boring. Like, it was funny as like there was a lot of stuff I almost wish I had taken notes because like there were a lot of times in the analysis of it that I was like really into like the cultural analysis.
Yeah.
And just these small ways that I feel like just wouldn't maybe be interesting, or I can't remember.
Yeah.
Interesting enough to remember. But just like all these things about how like at the end of the day, Adrian Brody's army all hates him and realizes that he's bad. So like it's clear that even though the movie is about being equal to other groups of people, that there's the small minority that's good and the vast minority are part of a bad, broken system that is irredeemable in many ways. He has a wife.
Adrian Brody?
No, Jackie Chan has a wife who's a teacher.
Oh, my god!
She
yeah,
like
there's
sings
the classroom
songs.
scene. I forgot about that classroom.
At one point, a woman takes off her clothes,
Yeah,
and we never understood why.
yeah. She like takes off her clothes for John Cusack.
For Jackie Chan, and
Jackie
Jackie Chan
Chan.
is like, whoa.
Yeah, and then that's it. She puts back on her clothes.
Yeah,
and it's like
no, we don't know who that was.
it was an odd scene.
Odd scene.
Did not like it. Kind of uncomfortable. And by kinda, I mean very.
And then there's also a scene where like they're fighting in the Silk Road, and then like a woman attacks him, and he like accidentally like grabs her chest, and then she like smacks him, and he's like, whoa.
Oh, right. I hate that stuff.
So Jackie Chan is apparently like real buddy with the Chinese government. What is this?
Yeah, he's like a member of something. I don't know. You want me to look it up?
Yeah.
I know he's very involved with the Chinese government. Let me do a little bit of Googling. This is great for radio when you Google stuff.
a thing that they cannot do in China.
Oh my god, yeah. You want to keep talking? Dead air is typically not what you want on radio. While I do research, like I should have done before the program.
Yeah, fair enough. No, I mean, I think it's weird because he's like the one crossover star, and so he is in everything. Like Kung Fu Panda, I know, is like a huge movie in China, like massive, and he's obviously in that. But also he's probably symbolic of like, you know, the ability for a Chinese speaking actor to sort of be successful all over the world. Any updates? He's also just incredibly wealthy, and like you can use that wealth to buy connections and stuff like that. He owns a lot of property in China.
Apparently he's just super supportive of the Chinese government and like warns people of publicity seekers who are trying to like slander the government or like him.
Oh, gotcha. So it's like he's very anti-dissident.
Yeah. Jackie Chan's name was in the Panama Papers.
That makes sense. I mean, it wasn't everyone's, like everyone's.
That's true, yeah. It just seems like he's buddy with the government, and he says a lot of things that gets people upset.
Mm-hmm.
Like he called Hong Kong the city of protest.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, you know.
So like he has all the quote unquote right stances for a Chinese citizen to
he's
have.
like the Tim Allen of China.
Ugh.
Maybe not the Tim Allen of China, but yeah, there'll never be another Tim Allen of anyone.
Chinese Tim Allen would be pretty funny.
All right.
Let's not explore it further, but it would be funny.
You want to get on to the next movie?
Yeah, the next movie was exponentially more fascinating.
All right, so this one's called Wolf Warrior. This was like the highest...
Wolf Warrior 2.
Wolf Warrior 2. This was one of the highest grossing movies in China last year,
This was the
right?
second highest grossing movie in a single market behind The Force Awakens in the U.S.
Oh, you are right. Wow. Good fun fact.
It beat...
Yeah.
It made more in China than Avatar, Black Panther, Titanic.
Than they did domestically.
Than they did domestically
You're
in the
right,
US.
yeah. This made $874 million
So it like did better per person.
That's insane.
And in a much bigger country than America. Or much more populous country than America.
Because, like, in my mind, since Force Awakens takes that
the
throne because it made like 900 something million domestically, it's like, okay, I can understand that because like that was like a big thing and it came back after years and years and years. This one is just like a sequel to a movie that came out like 2 years before it.
It is a bona fide like phenomenon of a movie.
Yeah.
Like that this tapped into and catered to so many people and was so successful while also being a complete, and I mean head to toe piece of nationalist propaganda.
Yeah, so what we noticed is that it looks and acts like a Michael Bay film just in China, which makes sense because Michael Bay movies are very successful in China. And like in the sense where like it's incredibly patriotic, it's incredibly sleek. There's the flag of the country is in so many shots.
There's a
of the
scene
movie.
where he puts the flag on his arm and holds his arm vertically as they ride a convoy of tanks.
Right, yeah.
To show them the way is by following the flag of the People's Republic of China.
Yeah, like stuff like that. And it's loaded with action that is boring.
Yeah, it's a super boring movie. Occasional great moments in the action, but those are few and far between.
That is true.
For the most part, it's a pretty boring modern war movie in the vein of something that would be starring Mark Wahlberg or John Krasinski.
Yeah. It's like 13 Hours Benghazi.
It's exactly like
Yeah.
that. In fact, a lot of people involved in this are also involved in those movies,
Really?
which is baffling because the propaganda seems so at odds with each other.
Yeah.
But the evil actor, the guy who plays Big Daddy,
Frank Grillo.
yes.
Yeah. He's in American movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I was like, hey, that's Frank Grillo.
Yeah, so
from The
I wonder
Purge.
if they like poached him because he's in U.S. propaganda movie.
He's very much
this
like action
even
star.
leads me to wonder if there has been a extensive and ongoing propaganda war between the U.S. and China via movies for like a long time, because Transformers were so popular in China. Why is like the U.S. military such an important plot point in Transformers? Like, why is so much time and effort? And Mark Wahlberg, who's also in all the propaganda stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It almost seems like there are...
Here's the thing. When you said that, why is the military in Transformers? In my mind, I'm like, that's just because it's Michael Bay and he wants to rely on things he knows and write for people he can write
that's
for.
fair.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He doesn't write his movies. What am I talking about? Jeez. You know, like... Name a Michael Bay movie that doesn't.
Or maybe you just
somehow
need a
involve
human
America.
male actor, because otherwise it's like, no, people won't be able to anchor themselves to this if it's just the robots and Shia LaBeouf.
I hated that movie.
But like,
movies.
I don't know. I feel like there is a cultural struggle going on between the U.S. and China via films, and I feel like Wolf Warrior 2 is the latest and greatest. Sort of propaganda weapons development.
Yeah. Because I think the Great Wall flopped.
Yes.
That was like an attempt to merge the two, to bridge the gap, and it did not work at all.
But I don't think Wolf Warrior has no desire to bridge the gap,
that's
which
what
is
I'm
what
saying.
makes it such a fascinating piece of
Like,
media.
do you think this is like, oh, Great Wall didn't work out, let's just make another propaganda piece
because
that slams America?
it's a propaganda thing that is hardcore nationalist. Is one of the most financially successful movies like ever made in a single market, and like no Americans have ever heard of it because it's not for us.
It's not for us. Not made by us.
In fact, there was even a scene that I'm like, I don't know if we were supposed to see that, but we'll get to that later.
No, just get to it.
It's
now.
a little because it's crazy. Like, I don't know how much I was very much reading into everything like to the maximum amount, and I don't know how much.
Similarly enough with the last movie, there's gonna be a lot of moments where I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
All right.
Because I don't remember a lot from this
Do
movie.
you want me to just run through it and
like the plot?
yeah?
Yeah, give it to us.
Okay, so I want to give one important piece of context, or one piece of context that I feel is important. China has invested like 50 or 60 billion dollars of investment into infrastructure and purchasing firm buyouts and debt purchases in Africa.
Yep.
Like a huge concerted effort to economically bring Africa into the Chinese sphere of influence. And that started in like 2014 or something, and it's very exploitative. The Chinese, like when you talk to people in Africa, they're like, yeah, the Chinese are like super racist towards us, and like all sorts of stuff. And critics sort of call it a form of colonialism that's being practiced on Africa right now by China. That's important context for this movie, I feel.
Big time.
So we focus on Lang Fang.
Is that his name?
I believe so, or possibly Fang Lang, but I
That's-
think it's Lang Fang.
That's weird. he doesn't have a name on Google.
But he is basically every American war movie or secret agent movie protagonist.
You were right.
Where I was in the army, but then I got like court-martialed.
I'm in the special forces.
And now I'm in the special forces because like the army rejected me, not for being bad, but because I upheld the ideals too much.
Yeah, I was too good at my job.
I was too good. And so the bureaucrats and young people, like he's like a Clint Eastwood character.
Yeah.
Or like
he's like Simon Pegg in Hot Fuzz. That was a joke because he's never mind.
Yeah, he's definitely like a he would probably be like what's the guy? Who's the guy? Racist. Who's the racist guy? Mel Gibson. Like, like he could be Mel Gibson in like Lethal Weapon or something, and. So they send him on.
I'm not going to agree with you.
They send him on a special mission to Africa, which maybe the first one was in. I don't know.
Yeah, we have no idea what the plot of.
And he goes to Africa, an unnamed country in Africa.
Yep.
And he needs to find this doctor, but also save the children of Africa. What is?
The budget of this movie is only $30 million.
This movie was also produced by like 30 companies.
Oh my God, that's right. It said like
and I wonder
30 different things.
How much money various interest groups contributed to its making.
It says the budget was only $30 million. That is shocking. This movie looks way more expensive than that.
I mean, sometimes.
Dude, okay, no.
Yes, you're right. You're right.
Like, just think about it. Like, Get Out had a budget almost at that size.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, that's not true. Think Get Out had like a $5 million budget. Like, like comedies with Will Ferrell have that amount of money.
Like sort of that mid-level.
Yeah, that's a mid-budget
people
movie
talk about
right
it
there.
Doesn't get made anymore.
Yeah, that's insane. This movie looks
How
like
much was like Mission Impossible? What was the budget for like Mission Impossible?
Probably
it's going to be a lot more than
probably
that.
going to be like in the 150 range. The newest one?
Yeah. Which is like, this is pretty much like the Chinese Mission Impossible or something.
Yeah, $178 million.
Jeez.
Like yeah.
How does that happen?
Because
like does that even seem right to you? No. I mean, how does it happen that Wolf Warrior 2 was $30 million?
I don't know. Was that money like laundered? Like
the set pieces weren't amazing, so I can see them saving a lot. But they had like a lot. I think it was just paid for by a lot of.
There was a lot of locations, a lot of actors.
I suspect it was heavily paid for by government subsidized like business interests.
Or maybe Google's not right.
That's true.
That could totally be the case.
So they go to China where there's like this kid who's like his like godson.
Yeah,
it's like a Chinese kid or African kid who like wears a Lakers jersey and like sleeps with a wad of dollar bills.
He had that Lakers jersey on the whole movie, right? Yeah.
And it's sort of showing like, hey, we the Chinese are here to look out for and care for the people of Africa who have been exploited and torn apart and forgotten by Western capitalist powers.
You know what? They're not wrong.
Which is true.
They're not wrong at all.
Which is true.
But at the same time, they're doing the same thing.
But I also don't believe that, I agree with their statement about what capitalism has done to the continent of Africa. I don't have any reason to believe that they are saying that from a position of good faith. Yes. Again, it's the same vibe as the cultural exchange in
like you agree with the message, but
I think it's being done in bad faith.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay.
And there's also the message of cultural exchange where they kind of throw these bones to African culture. Mm-hmm. Where like there's the scene where the person teaches them how to like get water out of a plant, and he's like, "Wow, a lot of people in the West forget that Africa is where all civilization comes from.
Yep.
We should respect that more." But it just comes off as a cultural exchange where one side is condescending towards the other.
Yeah.
Which historically is a very Chinese move. Just in like how they for like hundreds and
I feel like that's just a nationalistic move in general. Yeah, but like American movies where they all fought Nazis and like like every country.
But the idea of when we are culturally exchanging with others, it is from a spot of having the upper hand.
Yes.
And China, historically dating back to the Silk Road, like opened and closed it very consciously and dealt with, we will let Europeans trade with us in the cities of Hong Kong and Macau.
Yeah.
Like these very weird sort of diplomatic dynamics, and cultural, like intercultural dynamics. So he goes to Africa, and the kids, again, just showing that they lack the sensitivity to black people. I'm not saying the U.S. is sensitive to black people, right?
Okay.
In like our media is like treats people of color particularly well or particularly humanely, but Chinese really don't do that.
Okay.
They just have no idea what looks bad in this day and age.
Mm-hmm.
Like the violence committed, black people in this movie, Africans, are used as either characters that we pity, the dealers of violence, or the recipients of violence. And they're all hungry and uneducated and naive and childlike is sort of the stereotype. It's not that they're bad, it's that they're childlike and need to be shown the right way.
Yeah.
Instead of, falling for American pornography and arms dealers.
Yeah.
Stop me if I'm going to get us in trouble also. Like,
I don't think you're going to get us in trouble. I get what you're saying, and I think this movie does do things like that. I think this movie definitely tries to be like, hey, we're doing the best we can for Africa, and it's good for them, better than what America did. And
which might, like there's a case to be made. It was very weird to see like the bad guys in their movies are like arms dealers and like
every bad guy in
whale
these movies
killing
looks
fishermen.
American.
And like but it's very strange to see what they latch onto that we do that's bad, and I think that they're correct in their identifying of what we do that's bad.
Yeah, it's a fair assessment.
But I also think that
yeah, they
no one's perfect. No government that big and powerful is capable of not exploiting people.
You think that's true?
Maybe, I don't know.
Like, not to get political, but it might be true.
It might be, but
We have yet to see.
Exactly. And so it's weird. It feels like they're like 20 years behind on how to film.
Yeah.
Like African.
Dude, you want to know what the number one grossing movie in China was last weekend?
Green Book.
Green Book.
Yeah.
Yeah. Straight up has a 9.6 on like their rating system, and
Yeah.
movies don't go that high on their rating system often.
Weird.
They love that movie.
There's one point though in Africa where, they have the American-funded African militias have tanks that have one just has the word "kill" spray painted on it, which is pretty good. And then they shoot a rocket at our hero.
Hey, wait, can we talk about how our hero's driving that tank?
That doesn't happen yet.
Oh, sorry.
I mean,
I'm sorry, everybody.
you can go for it, but
he has a little head sticking out.
yeah.
of the tank.
So his head is
That's so
sticking
cute.
out like a tank, captain or whatever. But it's CG'd on to the tank. So the
So
tank
funny.
is moving really fast.
Yeah.
And we see his head. It's like he's green screened onto
floating.
it.
Like,
Yes,
it's weird.
It looks like somebody is playing around with iMovie or something.
Yeah,
like
it's good.
It's hilarious. We both saw it and like just broke down.
Yeah, that was great. The tank was great.
And then they like fight each other with tanks. Him and Big Daddy fight each other with tanks. They
yeah.
joust with tanks.
my
Because
God.
even the most serious Chinese movie is still more into like zany stunts.
Yeah, the best part about these movies are like the crazy stunts and like floating people and
Yeah,
such,
there's
you
a
know?
lot of people flying around when
yeah.
it makes no sense to.
But that is apparently something to do with
Yes.
like Anya was saying.
So we learned.
Yeah,
Yes.
that good spirits in China are like good people with good spirits.
People with like good character. Like
Yeah.
the better your character is,
the more you can fly.
which is basically true in a lot of media, even in the West. Is like, if you're really good inside, then you'll be like the most powerful Jedi of all.
Yeah.
Well, I guess Jedi is a weird because that's based on
Yeah,
Eastern
Oh, yeah, it
mysticism
is.
and stuff. But like
it all comes back.
it all does.
But yeah, I loved the float. I love floating people. It's so much fun. it never makes sense, but it's fun.
So another through line in this movie. Well, another proof of
Wait, did that even happen in this movie?
Flying around? Not really, but he caught a missile in a bed spring.
He caught a missile in a bed spring.
Somebody shoots a missile at him, and he grabs a bed spring that's just on the street and holds it up as a shield, and the missile gets stuck in there.
Cannot go through it.
And then he deflects it, and it just explodes somewhere else. And that was really good.
That was great.
That was great.
Yeah. That was A1.
But a couple other things that are so still in Africa, all these bad things are happening, and the message is always the Chinese will come help you. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And then there's a factory that a capitalist is trying to only let the Chinese people escape.
Yeah.
But then our hero comes in and he's like, actually, Chinese and Africans should be allowed to both escape. And he's heroic for that. And then the kid who is the kid in the Lakers jersey has a mother who is a Medea character. A sassy African-American grandmother.
It was
with her hair up in rollers. And
it was awfully stereotypical.
And African American stereotype.
Yeah,
not African stereotype.
Yeah, exactly.
Very much shows a crude understanding of racial politics between China and Africa.
I completely forgot about that character. That kind of hits the nail on the head for what they're going for.
And then there's the scene that I thought was even somehow worse is when they spin off in their Jeep into a mass grave. And you're like, oh my God. And on the one level, it's sort of African bodies being used as scene setting, right? To show that this is bad. But then the people, the villagers start coming out from around and surrounding them. And they're like, what do we do? Are we threatened? And the woman who's the moral good figure is no, they're just don't worry. They don't want to hurt you.
Yeah.
And she's they're just hungry. They want food. And she starts handing out food. And then, they're yes, thank you. And they're all, coming in to get food from their saviors, not at any point acknowledging the fact that they're, walking over many, many, many corpses to get the food. They're just so hungry.
Ugh. I forgot about
It's
that.
messed up, man.
Yeah.
The UN is also a bad guy in this movie.
Yeah.
And it's the insane thing that I need to keep reminding myself is not only is this an insane work of propaganda, but it's also seen by, most people in China saw this movie.
Yeah. And they liked it.
Yeah.
This is a hit.
Yeah, it's kind of scary.
But it's scary in the same way.
It's scary in the
where
same
we're
yes.
Michael Bay movies are huge hits, and that's scary to us.
Yeah. No, it is. You're totally right.
Which probably is just me normalizing this.
But yeah, there's their huge, awesome Chinese Navy is at the standby to help the Africans, but the UN won't let them.
Yep.
The UN won't let them because of their red tape and bureaucracy.
Yep.
And then actually one of the best lines in the whole thing is when one of the African warlords realizes that the American arms dealer betrayed him and was like, no, I said we didn't kill the Chinese. After all, China is a member of the UN Security Council. And having my goals align with theirs or cooperating with them would be very good for my political goals.
Yeah.
And then finally, they're about to be screw the UN, we're going in.
Yeah.
But then conveniently at the last minute, they're the UN said okay when they were clearly going to do something anyway.
Yep.
So then you get to see just 20 minutes, not 20 minutes, but 5 minutes of the gleaming hulls of these Chinese naval ships as they fire rockets with expert precision at the terrorists.
Yep.
It's funky. So
It's
then
funky.
At the end, Big Daddy fights Lang Fang. And then here's the scene that I'm I don't think we were supposed to see.
Okay.
Is because there's a very racially charged moment where, I think it's the most nationalist, jingoist, maybe racial, who knows, scene where Big Daddy is there's a lot more swearing in it, but he's people like me will always be better and superior to people like you. Right. The implication strongly being capitalists, but it seems more like Westerners,
think they're better than
European,
everybody.
Are better. And then our hero says, not anymore. And then stabs him 15 times.
Yep.
Like, just keep stabbing him over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And, like, this is like a heroic moment. And I was like, I don't know that we were supposed to see that, you guys.
Yeah. This wasn't for us.
And I'm not saying that China is racist towards
America
or what, even though, a lot of it is, but I'm not saying that all of it or all of its media hates or wants to hurt Westerners or Europeans or Americans. But movie? Nationalist propaganda from within it certainly does. In the same way that nationalist propaganda from within America wants to, vilifies Muslims and
in the Middle East in general.
Yeah, Middle Eastern and even, Chinese and other Asian people.
Yeah.
And then at the end, this movie reminds us that China will always protect its citizens overseas.
How'd they do that?
There's just a screen that says China will always protect its citizens overseas.
The text?
Yeah, just text on screen.
That's right, I forgot about that. What the heck? That's just, like, they don't even try to hide it. They don't try to hide the propaganda.
No, I mean, I think I think if you're a Chinese citizen, you know that what you're seeing is curated by, like, there's a high level of awareness that they live in a propaganda state, and a lot of people are fine with that. A lot of people are like, but there's propaganda everywhere, and a lot of people are like, it doesn't bother me because I like the movies, and a lot of people are like, it does bother me, but I want to watch a movie. What are you gonna do?
Movies. Yeah. All right, that's fair. I didn't think about it that way. Anything else you want to say about this movie?
I kind of just want to talk about the last movie.
Me too. All right.
I also, I feel like I've just been
getting real political on the show.
Yeah.
And saying a lot of things about a lot of different cultures.
Sorry about that.
I mean, it's the audience who is upset about it, not me.
I don't think the audience. I think
I'm seeing all the messages right now. They're like, "Get Ben
Am
off
I canceled?
the show." Yeah, you've been. I'm still on. You're off.
I think that was fine.
You're fine. Anyway, the last movie we watched is called The Mermaid. This movie was crazy.
This movie was amazing. Like.
Well, wait. You want to hear a fun fact? Came out almost exactly a year from Dragon Blade. A year and 1 day later than Dragon Blade.
Sorry, and is it a good movie? Not really. But is it an amazingly entertaining movie?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Here's the thing.
I would even say that there are moments where I'm like, that's good.
Yeah, okay, here's the thing. I wouldn't overall be like, this is a bad... I wouldn't completely write it off. Granted, there are scenes that I strongly disagree with.
There's scenes that land pretty weird.
Okay, yeah. Let's talk about the plot real quick.
It opens.
Oh my god! Oh my god! I forgot about the opening.
I actually also did. I didn't know. It opens, and then I was searching for what it was, and then I remembered how it opens. It opens on a house of curiosities, like an exotic animal museum,
exotic zoo, and it's just like in some dudes like run
with
down
like
apartment.
sweaty people there. Everyone's sweaty, and a woman has like a lot of like face cream on her face.
Everything's like a little green. Everything's dirty. Everything's got like a little.
It felt like Nacho Libre.
Slime. It was straight out of a Jared Hess movie. Yes, Nacho Libre. And the guy who's curating the zoo tour is just sitting with his 3 other friends playing mahjong.
Yes.
And everybody else is like, there's no animals here.
They're on like a field trip, I guess.
I don't know. It seems just like a group tour.
Of kids.
Oh, are they all kids?
Yeah.
I thought some of them were adults.
I thought they were teenagers.
Yeah, sure. Anyway, yeah, and then the people keep complaining. They're like, "There's no animals here,"
and he's like, "No, there's Batman." See,
oh my
because
God,
the word in China for Batman and the English word for Batman is the same, and it's just like a Batman costume with like chicken wings on it. Like it's like a rinky-dink fake operation.
Yes, exactly. The dude's a con man.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Oh, I'm going to have to show you the big thing then if you're going to keep complaining."
The movie's called The Mermaid.
Yeah, and they open up the bathroom door, and out of the tub comes a fat Chinese... It's him. Okay,
it's him.
Cool. I didn't want to say it was him because I wasn't sure.
He relocated to
very quickly
the underground reservoir.
Yeah, and then he comes out of the bathtub in a full-blown mermaid costume.
Yeah.
and then just lies on the rim of the bathtub. Is like, so you guys want to take some pictures, or? And they're like,
It's kind of like it's funny, but also deeply weird.
it's deeply weird, unnerving.
But like I
it
get the
was-
comedic.
It was so funny, and like it was somewhat charming. Like
Yeah.
that opening sequence was probably my favorite part of the movie, despite me almost forgetting about it.
Yeah.
Just because it was so unrelated.
It almost felt. This is gonna sound insane, but let me justify myself.
Go for
It
it.
almost felt Spielberg-y,
Yeah, go on.
where it's like, where it's a movie about something fantastical, a fantastical concept, but it starts with something that you think will be fantastical, but is then actually something
All right,
that
all
is
right.
explainable within reality.
I'll
and,
agree with
like,
you as long as you give me one example of a Spielberg movie that does this.
I think a lot of them do.
Name one then. And it can't be the BFG.
I feel like a lot of them are.
Oh, does
though,
Bridge
is
of
the
Spies open like that?
thing. Like,
What about Warhorse?
Yeah, no, I mean like Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
I know, I never saw that one. Does E.T. open like that? Jurassic Park?
I mean like something where you're
Jaws?
watching and it starts with like a alien or something, but then it's like, oh, they're watching a movie about aliens.
Yeah, I know what trope you're talking
Okay,
about.
so-
I just can't think of a Steven Spielberg
it's
movie that
his
has done
vibe.
it. All right.
It's definitely his vibe because, like, yeah, absolutely. Like, Stranger Things does that, and Stranger Things is aping Spielberg. And
Okay.
Stranger Things does that with Dungeons & Dragons.
Okay, yes.
Look,
You're right. I'm sorry, Ben.
true scholars will agree with me.
I just need an example. That's all I'm saying.
How does E.T. start?
I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
So let's keep talking. After the scene with the con man, we're then introduced to a slew of characters.
I was about to use the phrase slew of characters.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad to hear it. And
Like businessmen,
a lot of businessmen. And there's one.
jetpack businessman, in like a leopard print
He looks like
onesie.
At first, we were like, "Is that the
pen, pineapple, apple pen guy.
Yeah, because he was in the suit, and then it was like, "Okay, wait, no."
He jetpacks in.
Yeah, it's like a bald guy with glasses. Anyway, yeah, this guy jetpacks in. There's a bunch of CEOs meeting up, and then like one of them is like, "What we're doing is wrong. Pollution is wrong."
Yeah.
And then he never shows up again.
Never see
but he
or
still
hear
gets a
from him
5-minute monologue.
Not anything.
Yeah, and then we're sent around the guy with the pencil mustache
Yes.
for a bit, and then
He's like the Tony Stark of this world.
Yes.
He's the Christian Grey of this world.
and then his girlfriend, wife, fiance, somebody he has a relationship with.
yeah, who's got him whipped, as we find out.
Yeah, we're following her for like
I want to say
10 minutes.
fiance or possibly arranged, like fiance.
I have no idea.
Like it's assumed that they will get married for whatever reason. It's assumed
Yeah,
that they
yeah.
will be married.
And
And they're like, we work at Pollution Co.
yeah, exactly.
We devised a device that will blow up fish.
Literally, they made a device that
This movie's
blows
insane. I
up
just forgot
fish.
about how violent it gets.
This movie's crazy violent. It's
Incredible.
It's weird.
Incredible movie.
Yeah, and so basically we follow around his fiance for like 10 minutes, and then she's like giving him flack for hanging out with a bunch of like models, or no, I think she says prostitutes.
Yeah, well, no, the implication is that they're like they prostitute themselves for wealth. That's one of the more overtly, where she like throws the expensive watch in the pool.
Like a gold digger?
And because all they care about is money
Right.
and capital.
Right, that's true, and they go swimming after the watch. Yeah. But then we're introduced to
Capital.
the main character.
Yes.
Who
Is a crazy person dressed up as a mermaid.
Okay, so
I'm
she's in a pool and she's dressed up as a mermaid, and then she gets out of the pool and she's like, "I'm your biggest fan"
Yes.
to the guy, and
he's like, security.
yeah, and then eventually she gets him to take her number and that he will call her.
Yes.
And then she skateboards away, and
She
still,
skateboards away, which was pretty funny.
It was
That
funny
very
because you know her legs were bound because of the mermaid costume,
Yes.
so like her feet were only coming a little bit off the skateboard, and she was just going.
Yeah, that was really funny.
She went to her chicken stand.
Yeah, she
right?
works at a chicken.
Yeah, she works at like a rotisserie chicken.
It's
stand.
important for later, and later it's revealed to be important for no reason.
It's just her excuse for being on land because She then
can we just go through this sequence?
Skateboards to she's on an island, right? And the island is like one of those islands with cliffs that lead to an ocean.
The most solidly amazing 50 seconds of film I've seen recently. Yeah.
She skateboards into this big field on the island where there's a little shack.
Like a little beach shack.
Yeah, it's like a little thing with like, and she enters and
it's
got
like
a couch, a fridge.
But it's like bad.
Yeah, it's crummy looking. Yeah. She then is skateboarding in this shack, like 12 feet to this hatch in the ground.
Like a cellar door.
Yeah. She then just opens it up, and I'm not saying like she like climbs her way in there. With the skateboard, she jumps in the air and down the hole. Yeah, and then is skateboarding in a cave, which then leads through a waterfall. Like like there's a hole,
and
she
it's
goes
very
through it,
weird CG
and there's a
looking the whole time because everything in this movie is.
She bursts through a waterfall, and it's like out the edge of a cliff on this island. Yeah. And then it's revealed that there is a big boat.
Like a wreck of a ancient, not ancient, like a wreck of a Titanic type boat.
Yeah,
like not that
like
big,
a cruise looking ship. Yeah, and it's got a big hole right in what do they call it? The front of the boat,
the bow.
Yeah, that. And she then lands her skateboard in that hole
where there's a half pipe.
Where there's then a metal half pipe that she just half pipes around. For a little bit, and then she approaches a
bathtub
that has like dark green water. It's got algae all over it and like lily pads and whatnot. And then out comes a little boy with gashes all over him, like
horrible
infected burns,
like horrible damage to his skin.
And then it's revealed that he is a mermaid, and that she the whole time was an actual.
She was a mermaid disguised as a person, disguised as a mermaid.
Yeah, and the way she disguised herself as a person was the octopus man cut her fins in half so she could fit her fins into big yellow shoes.
Dan, you mentioned an octopus man.
Did I? The blonde, dreaded octopus man.
I did dread him.
No, he had dreads because he's an octopus. Yeah. Oh, God, I forgot about the sushi scene.
Yeah, no, that's the worst scene in the whole movie.
Oh, no, guys.
So this movie is a slapstick comedy. But
yes.
I think our first hint that something is maybe awry is the fact that her tail was cut so that she could...
Yeah. That, and there's like a little boy who looks like he's almost going to die.
But there's a great deal of not only violence, but a great deal of the infliction of pain and suffering that is unusual for a slapstick comedy.
And it's used for comedic beats.
Yeah, in ways that at first were like, okay, but increasingly made me uncomfortable.
Yeah. So the plot of this movie is she's fallen in love with the guy.
Supposed to...
Oh, right, yeah.
She's supposed to kill him. Or bait him into a trap to be killed.
The CEO with the pencil mustache.
Yes.
Which is also revealed to be fake.
Because he works at Pollution
His
Co.
mustache comes off at one point, like Spy Kids style. And she and the mer people, Dugongs,
as they're referred to in this movie.
They want to kill this guy because, he's developing this item that's going to blow up fish.
Yes.
I can't believe we're saying, like, it's literally a thing that sends out a frequency that, like, blew up a goldfish into bits.
That is correct.
Can't emphasize that enough.
And then the woman said, "Game over."
Oh my God! Yeah, game over. And then it said the game
subtitle was like, "The game is finished."
Yeah. So yeah,
there were a lot of moments like that.
There's a lot of moments where like I don't think that's the
subtitles were really, really good.
Yeah, and so like then she actually falls in love with the CEO.
Just go on a date to the chicken shop and the theme park where they sing. He starts singing a song because he eats so much chicken. And there's a lot of scenes.
They eat 20 whole chickens.
There's a scene where he's trying to kill him, but it keeps faking you out by thinking like it does like a Princess Bride like poison in witch glass switcheroo, and then there are like 5 fake outs.
And then some random guy takes it.
And then she wants to she tries to stab him, but he's like dancing around in his room.
She's got these sea urchins that she pulls out of her purse or whatever, and she tries throwing them at him. But she doesn't notice that there's a window right in front of her, and it bounces off and just gets stuck in her head.
Yeah, so it's, again, these, like, slapstick beats that are, like, really kind of viscerally unpleasant, where, like, she throws a sea urchin and it spikes her in the face, and then she's like trying to stab him as he's dancing around to a song
and she's, like,
in his room,
foaming out
and
the
then
mouth
and
and
then
passing
she
out.
just like stomps on her hand and like crushes it.
Oh, and then she stabs her own hand?
Then she stabs through her own hand with the
my
dagger,
God.
and then she jumps at him and flies through the air, and he swings a golf club and just smacks her in the face really hard.
Oh my
Like, it's
God.
just a little more brutal than you're used to in like slapstick comedy.
Also, I feel like her hand was perfectly okay after that.
That is true, yes.
Yeah, no repercussions. It's like
no repercussions. It's like Tom and Jerry, but with humans.
I was about to say.
Yeah,
it's like
absolutely.
you're watching a live action cartoon in the sense where you're like, this is gratuitous violence that's played for laughs, but since it's a cartoon,
It's like Itchy and
I
Scratchy or
guess
something.
we laugh.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
since it's live action, it's just too real.
It really is like Itchy and Scratchy.
Yeah, because like in those things they have like they like get burned.
Yeah,
they,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
get knives through them and
Yeah.
like yeah. That's a
And
good-
it's always like right on the edge of like, I don't know about this, you guys. So
Let's get to the epitome of that idea.
You mean the epitome of that idea?
Why did I say epitome? What Ben, the smart word
Like
that Ben
a
said.
legitimately upsetting scene. The octopus man is like, we're gonna finish the job. We're
There's
gonna
There's
we're gonna
a jarring moment where it edits to him going like, we gotta stop him. I have a plan, and then suddenly he's the chef.
Yeah, like he's like, I'm a sushi chef here to serve you, and then he's like, I'm going to kill you. But then all of the CEO's bodyguards come out, and he's like, oh, I mean, I'm the sushi chef, and he flips around his legs so that it looks like he's holding a bunch of tentacles.
Yeah. Also, there's been many bits in this movie where humans have been like, hey, what's up with these octopus tentacles? And he's like, this is the octopus I just killed.
Yes.
While not revealing that those are just his legs.
Yes.
Sorry,
he's like,
go on.
so he's like, yeah, I'm just a octopus chef here, and they're like, okay, cook us some octopus chef. So then he has to like chop up his arms.
No, immediately he puts 3 of his tentacles on a hot grill.
Yeah.
And the best part is that while he's
And it's
getting,
live
like,
action, which like makes it so much more upsetting.
it's weird too because he's getting like his legs are getting chopped to bits. They're getting burned.
And he's like, yow!
And he's like, ooh,
ooh, that's smart. Yeah. It's like very, and then like they take one of his arms and like put it through like a meat grinder.
Yeah.
Like it's horrible.
Oh my God! No, that was when I think I turned away from the screen.
Yeah,
Like,
it was
that's
brutal.
Too much.
It was really upsetting.
And then after that, he's got some bandages on
It
some
was like a Peter
amputated
Jackson
tentacles.
movie, is what we.
Yeah,
said.
our conclusion was it was a lot like the earlier Jackson movies. Like it was something straight out of Bad Taste.
Yeah.
And people also throw up a lot in this movie, right?
They throw up, but it's different. So there are things that I think it's just like a Chinese visual language thing because they throw up this white stuff when they get dizzy.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's like, you know how in like
Maybe
a lot
that's
of
like a
Japanese
thing.
stuff, like if you have a bubble of snot coming out of your nose, it's like that's how you show you're sleeping.
Yep, okay,
Or you
yeah.
have like the angry vein.
Yeah. I know what you mean. Little signature.
And like in
tells.
Wolf Warrior, there's a point where he shoots a bunch of people with like sleep arrows, and they all do the same thing. They like barf up this white
Oh.
stuff. So
Yeah.
I think that just means like they're dizzy or nauseous or
Okay.
something.
Yeah,
Like
sure.
it's just
and when the guy
imagery
takes
thing.
the poison, he's foaming white stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. True.
I don't really know why, but
It's like a thing.
it's just it's like a cartoon thing.
Okay.
She takes off her shirt at one point for no reason.
Yeah, she after her and the CEO Tony Stark's first date,
Their date where they go to a chicken shop and then sing together.
they go to the chicken shop. And
He
then there's
starts
a
crying because the
montage.
chicken is so good.
They have a montage of them eating like 20 whole
Yeah.
rotisserie chickens, and then he starts like going like, "I haven't had chicken like this since
Like
I was a poor
it's like
boy."
his Citizen Kane moment.
Yeah, exactly. And he starts breaking down. 'cause
And then he
it
starts
brings
singing a
back his
song where he's
roots.
like, I'm on top of a mountain. And she's like, who? Ha! And it was very funny. I think that was supposed to be funny, and it was.
The hoo-has?
Yes.
I don't know. Were they?
I think so.
I laughed. Maybe I shouldn't have.
But then he changes his mind about exploding the fish.
She convinces him that climate change, that pollution is not good and that he shouldn't be exploding fish.
Yes. So, but the bride-to-be is like, hey, buddy, what happened to your balls?
Yeah.
Weren't you a man? And did I not also call that? I'm like, we're not going to like this woman. She's going to be domineering.
Yeah. You were like, she's going to be evil at
Yes.
some point.
And it turned out that she was.
She was Sarah Silverman from School Rock.
Absolutely correct.
That
and
horrible trope.
So she's like, we're going to go get the mermaids. And then this movie...
Well, no, because he reveals to her, he's like, because he still thinks she's a good guy.
Yes.
He's like, yeah, there are mer people. Don't think I'm crazy. And then she's like, that's exactly what I need to hear. And
There
she goes
was
into a
this
room
scene where-
with the American guy
where
who's
she-
like, let's go kill the mermaids.
There was the scene where she's like trying to have sex with him, and she's like, hey, you know, like, come to bed. I have so much to show you. And he's just watching like videos on their not YouTube about mermaids. And she's like, you've been at this for 3 hours. And then he sees something and he's like, I gotta go.
He's doing like mermaid research for hours while she's just sitting there
He's looking
waiting.
at like myths.
Yeah, and then just gets up. He's like, I have to do
Which
something.
is a hilarious idea that he's just there for 3 hours Googling mermaids. And then is like, I have to go. Something came up.
Yeah. Oh god, this movie's crazy.
It's nuts.
Do you want to like get to the like the end? Yeah,
Then
go.
as soon as he's like, the mermaids are
Yeah.
real,
And
she's
the-
like, I believe you.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, they're at the boat.
Yep. And then she brings him into a room where it's revealed that she is working with a bunch of bad guys, and there's an American dude who's like, let's kill
Who's the most
mermaids.
evil of them all?
Yeah, and is just like, yeah, let's go kill some mermaids.
Like,
let's get them.
My thing, I'm not even a scientist. I'm a scientist, but I'm mostly like murder.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm mostly here for like murdering people.
Yes.
and mermaids specifically.
dugongs.
Dugongs. Yeah, sorry. Do you think they just called him Dugons because there's also an octopus guy, and they couldn't call him a mermaid?
dugongs.
Or is that like an actual term?
It is. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
okay.
like a dolphin. I
Okay,
think.
fair.
And I think that they did that for sort of the political reasons it gets into.
Yeah, maybe. You want to get into the end?
Well, they roll up to the ship and begin butchering the mermaids.
Yeah, they find them all at the bottom of the boat, and they're like, "Yep, they're down here. Let's clear
Like,
them out.
haul one out that's like one we've seen and grown attached to, and just
Murder the rest."
fall upon him with knives, and then we get the shot of like the blood seeping out.
Yep.
Like, it becomes horrific.
And it's not supposed to be funny.
No.
This is a moment where violence is violence and like is bad
Yeah.
and scary. Yeah. One of the few instances in this movie where that happens.
But it gets very viscerally violent
Yes.
out of like nowhere.
yeah, it just the old lady mermaid, the one with the huge
best one.
tail.
Yes, the most powerful one.
Yeah, exactly. Like
The Yoda.
Yeah, exactly. She has like this huge mer tail that
got it.
Just when she waves it in water, everything gets blown away, and she uses it to like postpone the
Massacre of
soldiers.
all the
yeah,
mermaids,
exactly.
mer
And so some of
people.
them can escape and jump out the boat. When that happens to a lot of them, they're perfectly fine. But when it happens to our main character, she's just chased.
Well, then she gets shot with a harpoon through her.
Yeah, through
So
her.
this was a weird angle because they hate whaling in China, right? Like really, really, really
Isn't that
hate.
like a thing in this movie?
Yeah,
They
yeah.
bring it
Well, I
up.
mean, that's kind of the pretty overtly the
Yeah,
imagery when
true.
they're butchering these sea animals.
Right. There was like a montage
Yes.
in the beginning of just like
In the beginning and when they were murdering them, it was very
Yep.
whaling imagery. And it's sort of a double-edged thing because it's one, like a capitalist venture that is not supported by the Chinese government and is a pretty easy moral stance to take, right?
Yeah.
That whaling is bad and like accurate criticism of capitalism to be like, people do this for money, that's sick. And it's like, that's true. It's also pretty anti-Japanese.
yeah.
It's part of their whole dynamic is whaling. The Japanese, until very recently, were pretty all in on it and are now like 70% in on it. And the Chinese, again, pretty easy wedge issue to take up to be like, they whale and we don't.
Yep. Yeah, they bring that up.
Which is, I mean,
few
again,
times.
fair.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, so just it now is a full action movie with a weirdly brutal degree of violence.
Yeah, so she gets harpooned and she's still swimming and
The woman is like chasing her in a helicopter,
yeah. and
trying to get a shot at her with a rocket launcher.
Yeah, and then like
Do you remember what happens next? Because I do.
don't worry, I got this.
Okay.
She gets like really badly hurt.
Yes.
And she ends up on like I don't want to say a dock, like
Oh,
like
sorry. Can I roll back to?
yeah, sure.
I'm sorry. I'm very sorry.
Sure.
There's a point where he's becoming
Who's becoming?
The CEO is becoming sympathetic to the mermaid, so he's
Yes.
like, I want you to test the machine on me, and so that you can prove that it doesn't have any bad effects. Mm-hmm. And he's like, turn it off, turn it off, turn it off. And then he's like, I pooped my pants.
Right. He's like, I don't
And
want...
he continues to mention it.
It's seemingly like the logic he uses for not using the fish exploder device anymore is because it made him poop his pants.
Yes. But
yeah,
that plot line is somewhat important though, because as she's being chased, our man is stuck in traffic.
Right.
Next to the apple pen man from before.
Jetpack CEO.
Jetpack CEO.
Yep.
Okay. Now cutting back to the action.
So, our main mermaid has been, she got harpooned.
She's messed
bleeding and clearly been cut and bruised all over, and she is like crawling on to
mangled.
She's crawling onto a concrete ramp at like a dock, one that a boat would drive into.
Yes.
And she finally just like gives up, and like her head falls and her hands just spread and she's on the ground. And then it cuts to the con man from the very beginning.
Well, it doesn't cut to it. He's in that scene. He's just there. He's sitting there.
Well, yeah, he's sitting there, and it just like it cuts to him though.
Oh, yeah,
like
okay,
in
fair
like
enough.
watching her do that, and he's still in the mermaid getup.
He's in the mermaid. He's like painting.
And he's painting something, and he just looks shocked.
And he's like, "What?"
And then he like gets all of his
It's
stuff
like
together,
the
and,
equivalent of
hobbles out.
he stole that guy's pizza. It's like,
And it was the most shocking moment to us because we had just watched like all the mermaid people getting like murdered.
Yeah.
She has been through so much.
we are
She
at
has
our
been-
emotional low point.
Yes, this is like the part where like we were supposed to feel the lowest, and they did that, and it wasn't funny. It was just shocking.
Mm-hmm.
It was
Because we were literally like,
choice.
"Hey, do we think we're ever gonna see that guy?"
Yeah,
like moments before when watching it, and then asking ye
Yeah,
shall
at some
receive.
point I was like, "Do you think they're gonna come back?" And then I think you were like, "Nah." Right?
Yeah, no, I didn't think so. What I can't express enough is just how unpredictable the tone of this movie was.
Yeah.
Moment to moment.
Yes.
Like there would be a comedic beat followed by like horrible violence, followed by emotional devastation, followed by a comedic beat.
Yeah, like-
and you're like, just like you could never predict how you were supposed to feel.
And it wasn't like comedic beats that had to do with the dark matters, like in dark comedies will do to like be
it
funny.
was
To
like-
it was like something completely unrelated.
or like
that's
like the
slapstick.
equivalent of like a fart joke.
Exactly. Like, he pooped his pants.
Yeah.
Like, like stuff like
so
that.
then as she's doing this and crawling mangled up to the shore, this dude's here, he runs away, then she's surrounded by like the bad guys.
Oh God, yes.
And
yes.
all appears to be lost. When bam, our CEO jetpacks into the scene.
He stole the jetpack from the other guy. And he jetpacks in.
He jetpacks in to save her and return her to the sea.
Yeah.
And then we fast forward like
5 years, right?
5 years later.
Yeah, and then there's the CEO is talking to like a young up and comer,
And he's now like a philanthropist.
Yes.
He now is given all. It's weird because they say given like all of your money to protecting the environment, but he's living in an even nicer house.
Yeah,
like,
he's
it
still
doesn't
just
really-
as rich.
Yes.
Yeah, and the guy's like, so I have to ask,
Yeah.
what's up with the whole mermaid thing? I know that you deny it because you just want to protect the mermaid people, but tell me the truth.
Well, no, it's even worse. It's even lamer than
That's
that.
pretty much what exactly.
Because
what
no,
he
the
says.
scene was almost. I was literally mid about to compliment it when it undid all of its good. Where it was.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, I just realized. He says the line that she said before, where he's like, what worth is money when there's no water left to drink and no air left to breathe? Yeah. And you're like, oh wow, like he learned he's something. And then he's like, so I gotta ask, like, are mermaids real? And he's like, no. Mm-hmm. And then the journalist is like, a lot of people say you just say that to protect the mermaids. And I'm like, no, come on, man.
And then he just constantly
ruined
denies it, and then it ends.
And then
right?
he's like, have you met my wife? And the wife is like the mermaid. From
oh right, yeah, it turns out to be the mermaid.
Womp womp.
I remember when that happened, I was like, oh, okay, that's I kind of like that, I guess.
I liked many parts of it, or enjoyed.
Yeah.
It's
It's time,
number of parts
It's
of
time
this
to
movie.
roll out some compliments because the Dugon lair in the boat, in the abandoned boat, is actually an awesome set.
It's an awesome set.
And
It had the
design.
funniest line in the movie, which was when they were all, I don't remember who it was, but everybody was going to grab someone. And he
Okay.
was like, kill. Oh, it was like, no, it was like, kill him. The CEO. They're like, kill him, kill him, kill him. They're chanting. And then the one guy's like, I think he's coming. His heart's in the right place.
That was so good.
And it was hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just like the one guy who's standing up for him out of all the people. That was funny. What else?
Like good moments that we like. Well, one thing just before we go on to like a summary, there's a scene at the end where they swim together in harmony.
I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to think about that.
They swim together,
Ugh.
all the mermaids and the
Ugh.
CEO swim together.
Ugh.
And he has a bubble of air around his head and they swim in the ocean and it's the worst.
It's horrendous.
The worst CG I've seen
in recent years.
in recent years.
It
It looks like the scene in Wayne's World where they're like, now we're in the Swiss Alps.
Dude,
now we're in outer space.
oddly enough, you know what it made me think of just now?
What?
Phantom Menace when they're swimming underwater, but that looks better.
That looks so much better.
It looks significantly. Maybe it's because they're actually in water.
You were banished because you were clumsy. You guys like Star Wars?
Oh god, that scene was so bad, and it's how the movie ends. It cuts to black after that. After they're all with all the sea creatures, and this horrible. It's so brightly
It's
lit.
really
Everything's like bright blue underwater. It just looks like garbage.
But like you
looks
were
like
saying
a
before,
YouTube
there were
animation.
legitimate scenes of heart in this movie.
yeah,
I think the octopus character was very weird and like a unique idea.
let's address the octopus guy and the fact that he tricks her into kissing him.
Yeah.
There's gross stuff like that.
I don't know if that was supposed to be gross or not. You know
I
what
think
I mean?
it was.
You think it was supposed to be
like in the movie, like this is gross.
yeah, or was it like us watching it didn't like it? But I don't know. I actually don't know the answer.
Our main
to that.
character was like, I don't feel anything from this kiss. This is stupid, and then walks away. And
But
he's
that
just
was like supposed to
"Darn."
be played for laughs because
Yeah.
he's like, oh no, oh brother.
Yeah, but he like still tricks her into
No.
kissing him, and it's.
But they like catapult themselves out of the ship and like they just do like goofy stuff.
I forgot about that catapult.
You're like,
Yeah, and
kind
then
of shout outs to this. Like this
And-
is kind of what it's all about.
they catapult themselves out of the hole of the boat, and they are going to the waterfall. And we had thought that they were just gonna hit the waterfall and swim up. No, they go through the waterfall and hit a tire.
Smack into like what you would fall onto like for a stunt.
Yeah, like it's just like a tire with some netting around it. It's
And
great.
then they're going to lure the guy into the house, and their mermaids just standing behind the door, like poised to club this guy.
Yeah, like the octopus is hanging on the ceiling with his knives or bone knives.
like it's like they're funny scenes that
Yeah.
are like meant to be funny and are funny.
There was one scene that got me real good that didn't get you or Anya because the octopus guy is hanging from the ceiling upside down, and he's talking to somebody, and then suddenly he just starts spinning, and the person's like, "Oh, are you spinning?" Because he does that in the movie. He'll like spin, and then he's like, "No, the ceiling fan's on," and it pans up, and the ceiling fan's on, and then there's just like one of the mer people's like, "Yeah, I turned it on," and I don't know, it was really funny.
Yeah, the funniest
It
line
came
was
out of nowhere.
definitely, I think his heart's in the right place.
Okay, yeah, no, that's the funniest part. Besides her skateboarding down.
But then
that
it's
cave.
it's at odds with like the weird, like the child whose skin has been burnt.
who dies.
Yeah, yeah. No, they kidnap him and is never seen again.
Kid dies. I thought they said the kid died from
They
the
were
pollution.
butchering them, and they were like, "We need one alive," and then they get him because we can't see him die. But they actually forgot to reintroduce him.
Yeah. Anything else?
It's an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah. Highs and lows.
I
all
think
around.
that the angles here were like the only political angles were like
There's
capitalists
still like,
exploit the environment.
Yep.
And maybe a little bit of and the Japanese kill whales.
Yeah.
But other than that, it was not.
Yeah, it wasn't too political.
It wasn't too political.
It didn't have too many ideals in there.
And what it was things
Motives.
that we would probably also agree with in theory.
yeah, it's like,
Like greed
don't,
is bad.
Don't kill fish. Just unruly.
Yes.
Don't pollute the environment, and don't be
Have
greedy.
respect for the natural world.
Yeah.
Don't forget where you came from.
That's a big one, yeah.
uh,
It's not a big one. It's a thing. It's a big one
It's-
in a
yeah.
scene.
It's one scene. It's just an insane movie, and it doesn't like it. It looks really bad.
Yeah, most of it just looks bad.
I think like all the budget went towards making the mer people look
Yeah, they didn't look
okay.
terrible, yeah.
Although except when she like took off her pants,
That first time.
That was really
Yeah.
absurd looking.
Yeah, that was weird. It was also weird when she'd be walking on her fins. And we
Yes,
could see
it
that.
always looked really bad, but like there was a lot of like really crappy CG, like glass breaks. There was a lot of really crappy CG. The jetpack, the guy on the jetpack when it's malfunctioning, he's just flying
Through
around
the house. When he's like zip.
Yeah, he's
zip.
just zooming around
coming
the
in
room
through
because
left,
his jetpack
right.
malfunction.
Yeah, that was bad. Yeah, there's a lot of slapstick that just doesn't land.
No.
But at the very least, we're watching it like kind of baffled, kind of like, oh my god. Really?
I think the real entertainment just came from never knowing what
Yes.
emotion the next scene will be built to elicit.
And typically it was just all of them.
Yeah, it was great. I want to watch more Chinese movies.
Yeah. I'll probably watch a few more.
I want to watch American propaganda movies too, but I feel like they'll be less like absurd and ridiculous,
and more boring.
and also I think like we would have to just choose overtly propaganda one
Yeah.
because like of course you could argue that like all movies Hollywood makes are propaganda, whatever.
Yeah, we would choose ones that in the forefront is the propaganda.
But those aren't going to be surprising in any way.
Yeah,
it's just going to be exactly what you
it's
expect.
It's gonna be like Michael Bay. It's gonna be
gonna be
like
Air
Peter
Force One.
Berg. Yeah, it's gonna be Mark Wahlberg, Steven Seagal, John Travolta, Bruce Willis.
Gotti.
I was about to say Gotti. Yeah. What are we talking about next week, Ben?
I want to do Judeo-Christian movies.
Like God's Not Dead?
God, no, I don't know about God, but like Prince of Egypt, VeggieTales.
Oh, right. My bad. I misunderstood what you
Stuff
meant.
that fits into both Jewish Sunday school and Christian Sunday school.
How interesting of a topic is that gonna
I
be?
think because I
we
think
would have
like
to find movies.
I think that I bet there are some movies that are like we could do like Noah.
Yeah.
Ridley Scott's Noah. It's not Ridley Scott, is it?
Darren Aronofsky.
Ooh, even more
Oddly
talented
enough.
and like even more shameful.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. We'll see. I guess. I don't know.